Hey guys, what's up? It is Ripe again, back with more Entitled People stories. In today's video, OP's crazy neighbor threatens to call the police on him and get him arrested if he doesn't sell her his land. Without wasting any more time, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, "Sell my son your land or I will call the police." Some backstory: my now passed on next door neighbor was a terrible busybody who felt it was her God-given right to tell everyone in our street what they could and couldn't do, ranging from where they parked their cars to what flowers they could grow. She had to know everyone's business and would harass people until she got answers, even going as far as stalking, but that is for other stories. If she didn't get her own way, she would spread the most evil gossip. Her adult children, a son and a daughter, were both greedy and deeply entitled, believing that because the majority of the street were either social housing or rented properties, they were supposedly better than everyone else, and if they didn't get what they wanted, then Mother would sort it out. I got many stories about this neighbor, far worse than this one, but I will start off with this one as it is the mildest thing she had done and fits into the EP subreddit better. The son owns two other properties near the end of the street which he rents out. At the very end of the same street is another house with a plot of land right next to it. The owners of that house and land built a garage that they use for work, rebuilding old cars and bikes. The business is at least 30 years old, handed down from father to son. It is very small, so they can only work on one vehicle at a time, but due to the owner's skills at restoration, they are always in high demand. One day about 10 years ago, the son rocks up in his latest BMW and walks up to the owner, a father and his teenage son. The rest of this conversation is paraphrased as I was not a witness, but this was told to my family by the owners themselves. S stands for son, O is owner, the father, you know the drill. Son:
"Hey guys, it's your lucky day. I wanna buy your land. I will give you £15,000.
Which I think, guys, is around $19,000. And also notice that he did not ask if it was for sale or offer to negotiate a fair price. Oh, no, sorry, the business is not for sale. Thanks for the interest though. Son:
I was not asking for your business. You can set up somewhere else. I want this land. It's just the right size to build another house on.
Owner: well, sorry, no, this is our livelihood. We cannot just move. We would lose business while looking for someplace else, and besides, it used to be my father's garage and it is next door to our home, so why would we want to sell it? Son:
so you can make money.
Insert a random duh face here. Owner: but we make money working here, so sorry, but it's not for sale. The son then does what you would expect a grown man of 30, yes, 30, to do. He complained to his mother. His mother takes no time at all to walk back to the garage. Entitled mother: why won't you sell your garage to my son? He wants to build a house here. Owner: because this is our place of business and we don't want to sell. Entitled mother: you shouldn't even be working here. It is dangerous. Owner: I can assure you, ma'am, everything is up to code and we have every right to work here. Now, please leave us alone. EM: what are you hiding in there? Is it drugs? Owner: what? No, we are fixing up an old bike. EM: I knew it. You are working here legally. Sell your land to my son or I will contact the authorities. The owner laughed and told her to go ahead. She stormed off and they thought it was over. Just the nutty ravings of a mad granny, right? An hour later, sure enough, the police arrive. Apparently, an anonymous caller rang them to say that the owners had been dealing drugs out of the garage. It was obvious who had called them. Of course, all the neighbors had seen the police arrive. Our street is normally quiet and we are all nosy bastards, so when you see a blue flashing light, you step out and watch the show unfold. EM took great glee in telling everyone who stood around and watching the chaos how the owners had been selling drugs to children and how she wasn't the one who called them, but everyone knows what is going on and thank goodness something is finally being done about it. Half the neighbors were shocked at this event, but a few of the longer term residents were already giving her the side eye like it was on special offer at Tesco or Walmart. She must have been feeling pretty smug with herself, only there was a snag. Just a little one. Because the tiny garage worked on rare and old cars, which can be expensive, the owners had CCTV. That was something EM had not counted on. After the police had shown up, the owners knew who the culprit was and had no issue with showing footage complete with sound to the officers, showing EM threatening to call the police if they didn't sell the land. With half the neighbors out and watching events unfold, the EM's face switched from smugness to fear as the police walked away from the garage and approached her instead. The officer then asked if they could step inside her home to discuss something she probably did not want her neighbors to hear. She received a warning regarding harassment and wasting police time. The owners of the garage were never bothered again, and the last remaining neighbors who didn't know how bad she was finally saw her for the horrible woman she was. Sorry, the ending was not epic, but that's just how it was. Update to the story. Oh wow, yep, socially awkward online as in real life, sorry, I'm rubbish. I did not expect this to be so popular, especially as I posted it at 3 AM-ish while on a load of painkillers. I will try to post more about Crazy Pants as we call her in the future, although they are not so many EP stories as just batshit crazy witch ones. Further update, I did post another story, but it was sadly eaten by gremlins. I will try again soon. And yeah guys, if you still enjoy the Entitled People stories, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments, because it would help my channel tremendously. Thank you so much for your awesome support, and now let's move on with the next story of the Crazy Pants saga. The next part of the saga is titled Harassed Over a Parking Spot. So, some of you have been asking for more stories about my crazy neighbor and her adult kids. A reminder, my next door neighbor who my family and friends and I called Crazy Pants was a very nosy, very entitled woman who tried to tell everyone who lived in the same street what they could and couldn't do. Her adult children were equally spoiled. My neighbor on the other side of me we will call Gina. Gina is a mother of 3 who works in the local supermarket. She is the sort of person who, if you tripped her up, she would apologize to your foot. One day her husband John got a new job which came with a company car. Nothing special, it was covered in logos for the company, but it meant that Gina could use the family car whenever she needed to. Some of the houses where I live have driveways and some don't. Gina has a driveway, but it only takes 1 car. As they were liable for the company car that took up the space in the driveway, and her car would be parked either in front of my house or CP's, aka Crazy Pants, as neither of us had drives. It's a public road, so anyone can park anywhere as long as they don't block a drive. One day, entitled daughter bangs on Gina's door. Apparently she was annoyed that Gina had been parking in front of her mother's house. That space, as she saw it, was for her when she visited, and because Gina was in the space, ED had to park in front of my house and walk the whole 5 feet to her mom's house. Oh, the humanity. This was when Gina made the following mistake. Gina, I'm so sorry, but isn't OP's house right next door? I'm sure you don't have to walk far. ED,
How dare you? That is my parking spot. Why do you have 2 cars anyway? You're just a stupid checkout girl.
It was at this point that John overheard and demanded that ED leaves. So ED does what a grown woman of 40 always does, she whines to her mother. That was when CP went into overdrive. Over 6 months, whenever Gina and her family stepped out into their garden, CP would come out and shout at the children for being too loud, or at Gina for wearing inappropriate clothes. Gina wears bikinis in the summer, which, being the UK, lasts about 31 minutes. She would also turn up to the supermarket Gina worked at and hovered around giving her death stares. Social services, think CPS but they cover more than children, were called and told that Gina and John had been putting out cigarettes on the children. The RSPCA were called and told that Gina has been starving her cat. She didn't even have a pet at the time. Also, every time her car parked in front of CP's house, CP would bang on her door screaming about her parking space. Poor Gina tried everything. She recorded the abuse and called the police and the council, but they were only willing to give a warning. Her work could not remove CP as long as she wasn't doing anything, and she could not prove who called social services and the RSPCA. In an effort to help as we were between the two neighbors, my dad, and yep, I live with my dad because I am his caretaker, decided to let our hedge grow to block CP's view of Gina's garden so she could have peace. It worked for a while. Then one day we get a knock on the door. Our house is council owned, so all necessary maintenance work is carried out by them. A man from the council stood there and let us know that the new fence would be up by 4 PM. Next thing we heard was the sound of a hedge trimmer. My dad stormed out and demanded to know what was happening. Apparently we had called the council regarding the very slightly wind-damaged fence between our garden and CP's and agreed to have it replaced. We didn't call anyone. In order to put the new fence in, the hedge we had needed to be removed. There was nothing we could do. We made it clear that no one had called anyone, but because the fence was damaged, they decided to continue and there was nothing we could do. Lo and behold, the next day CP was leaning over the fence and was back to shouting at the children. I would love to say that CP got what she deserved, but Gina eventually cracked and sold her car. She then paid £600 for a new fence. Afterwards she got rid of the car. The harassment stopped as quickly as it started. Gina is fine now. She now has a management position and a new dog who likes to play with mine. Next time, the one where Crazy Pants demands to know what I am doing at 2 AM in my own home. And Ripe Stars, if you ever had a neighbor like Crazy Pants, then please don't forget to share your own story either in the comments or on r/Ripe Stories on Reddit, where you can share your own story and there is a good chance that I might read it in a video. And the next one is titled, EP wants to know what I am doing in my own home and then demands I stop so I can do errands for her in the morning. Another story about Crazy Pants. This one is not very good, I am afraid. The next one will be better, but this one features my dad, who Crazy Pants was often at war with. Quick summary, Crazy Pants was my incredibly nosy and entitled neighbor with 2 adult children who were spoiled and greedy. This woman seriously believed she was in charge of everyone in my street. A little background for this: years ago I moved back home to help my mom look after my dad as she was struggling. My dad has multiple conditions, angina, diabetes and arthritis amongst them. Then sadly my mom passed away, so dad was completely on his own. My dad could fill a subreddit all on his own with stories as he has a foul mouth and is known for being a complete bastard to people who annoy him. You will see this later, but he cannot get around like he used to and relies on me to keep him out of trouble and keep things ticking. Thankfully, because my job is from home, I can look after him. Now, sometimes the people I work for are based in other countries, so when I talk to them online, it can be late at night or early morning because of the time difference. CP's children don't live with her, the daughter does not work while the son owns some of the property near us and rents it out. They are very well off, having both married into money. Meanwhile, I don't get a lot of free time because I work. I am a carer for the grumpiest yet somehow lovable git on the planet, and I have my own chronic illness on top. Now to the main story. I had just been talking with a client. It was about 2 AM in the morning and I was downstairs. The living room light of course was on because I'm not an owl. I was typing up something when there was a banging on the door. I was worried as we had in the past had drunks at the door mistaking our house for some friend's place, and you never know what they may do. I open it carefully and there is CP. You can guess the key here. CP:
Excuse me, why are you awake?
Me: sorry? CP:
I wanna know why you are awake.
Me: did we wake you up or something? No noise had been made and there was no way CP would have seen our light on without leaving the house. In fact, she would often step out and do a late night inspection of the street, like she was looking for contraband. CP:
I don't think you should be up this late. Why are you up?
Me: I don't think it is any of your business, but since you ask so sweetly, I am working. CP:
But it is 2 AM.
Me: and it is my home. Are we now just pointing out random facts? Because this game is boring me. CP:
You should be asleep.
Me, and yet here you are, wide awake. Isn't it a miracle? We should form a club.
I'm supposed to be going to the hairdressers at 10 AM and I don't want you too tired.
Now this has me super confused and I don't know how to respond for a few moments. Me, excuse me, what does your hair appointment have to do with me? CP,
well, I was going to get you to drive me to it. ED and ES have important things to do and you already do a lot for that very rude man. The least you can do as a neighbor is give me a lift.
Me, what the... Are you completely off your rockers? CP,
what is the problem? You do stuff for your father all the time.
Me, I would also like to point out that I don't drive, let alone own a car, and even if I was up for letting you sit on the handlebars of my bike, why would I be taking you to the hairdressers? You have a daughter and a son with multiple fancy cars. Get one of them to take you or get a taxi and stop bothering me over what I do in my own home. CP,
but they work.
Like hell they do.
I cannot bother them. You are home all day.
Me, I work from home, like I was doing before you banged on the door, and now please go away. It was at this point I discovered my dad had been woken up and was now leaning out of the bedroom window listening to the whole thing. Dad, CP, why don't you mind your own damn business and piss off? CP scurries away upon the sight of grumpy dad's man nipples and I go back inside. The next day the daughter arrived to take mother dearest to the hairdresser. I was coming out to walk the dog and got death stares from them both. It was at this point my dad opened the living room window and shouted at CP. D, and get your damn mustache waxed. Thanks for making it less awkward, Dad. Next story, when ED and CP tried to con the council to pay for ED's BMW and get an innocent man fired. Anyway, update to the story, I didn't expect lightning to strike twice. I will quickly answer a couple of questions I keep seeing. Firstly, I'm in the UK and if it comes across that I may be from other places, it is because I was raised in a dual nationality household plus a multi-nationality extended family, and I am also used to interacting with people from all over, so I have picked up certain language habits I'm always trying to get over. Secondly, I answered the door as it may have been an emergency. I live in a relatively sleepy village, so the likelihood of it being anything more than someone who has drunk too much cider is slim here. Some of my neighbors are old and some have children, so people do try to look out for each other. Finally, I've been asked about my illness. I don't really want to go into massive details as I'm not looking for pity, but I was in a bad accident years ago and it triggered a few issues including fibromyalgia. It's nothing for anyone to worry about on my behalf, I just need to use things like a cane or a joint support sometimes. I would also like to say that I know even more parents out there who are amazing and have to deal with so much in the way of work, health and exhaustion, and while there are many crappy people in the world, don't allow them to dull your ability to extend compassion and understanding. And Ripe Stars, with this we have unfortunately reached the end of today's video. However, if you cannot get enough of my stories, then I would highly suggest you to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will show up at any moment in the left corner of the screen, which includes over 1000 Ripe stories. In addition, if you would like to share one of your own stories, then please head on over to r/Ripe Stories on Reddit, where you can post your own story and there is a good chance that I might read it in a video. In addition, please also check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos that you won't find on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, your daily support is very much appreciated and I hope to see you again tomorrow.